Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the Daytona SP3 in the live lobby. I'm going to race this car briefly and then kind of give you my take on this car as a live racer. First of all, the SP3 is a prize car, so you've gone through quite a bit of work to get here with this car. You then have to build it, and what I found out pretty quickly is that this car is rather dependent on having the right stage 6s. Testing it on Nitro CS for CSR2's account gave me an idea that without the stage 6s, this car is unlikely to be super competitive. I did test it as well without any stage 6s, and quite honestly, it was mediocre when it comes to matchmaking, lobby advantage. The numbers are just not as good as you would hope it to be. However, the two stage 6s that makes some of the biggest difference in this car, which is body and transmission, of course, combined adds about 400 Evo to the car. Once you add that, and then you also take into account that transmission being a particularly good stage 6 for this car, actually takes away some of the performance point from the car, lowering it slightly, made the car far more viable as a live racer. In fact, it has a decent lobby advantage. I'm actually running the car very carefully to maintain that lobby advantage until such a time where I can start to really push it more. Now, how does it compare to some of the top live racers in the game? Well, you know, if you were to rank this car, it'll be somewhere around the second tier from the top, right? You have your top tier live racers like the F5 Venom, the Bentley GT3s, and they're like, those cars are extremely good, versus this car, while it's not bad, just isn't quite as good. It will still win you races. It'll still carry lobby advantage enough to get around in the lobbies against average racers. But if you run into one of the top cars, or you run into a car that is substantially dyno beating, you don't have enough lobby advantage to make this car a killer. Okay, so what this car is a decent live racer. Okay, F5 Venom, let's go ahead and take him on full blown. I suspect that F5 Venom, if it's tuned right in this lobby, will easily beat me, but that doesn't mean he's going to beat me easily without me trying to fight him for a decent run out of this car. So I am going to run it as hard as I can and push him as hard as I can, because I am not going to just give in. Now, he slowed down. He knows he's running fast. He has to run probably in the 10-1s. You know, I'm running a 10-2, and that was a 10-5, 10-6 type lobby. So he's running 4-10s. 5-10s is like the gap that you tend to see with lobby advantage that you can have. So he has to run at least 3-4 faster than lobby to beat me, and that naturally affects where the two of us will end up, and it looks like both of us are being driven out of that lobby right away based on that run. Remember, I used to tell you natural motion does not count losses. I think they tweaked that again. Now, even if you lose but you run too fast, it probably does count again. They used to make it count, and then they took it away, I think, because people who lost, complained that, hey, I'm getting pushed out of lobby. Why is that? So they said, okay, we're only going to push the winner out. But now it looks like winner or loser, if you run too fast, you have a chance of being pushed out. It's not a guarantee that it's going to happen right away. Again, it depends on how many runs you've done, how slow you've been running them, and other factors. But the reality is that win or lose, if you run well under the lobby bracket, you can now, it looks like, to me at least, get bumped yet again. Okay, this car is tricky too, because you need a kickback start. You need to have the RPM drop to 0 to really get the best run out of it. Now, that can be done once you get the hang of launching it, but because the perfect launch is such late RPMs, it's on the higher RPM end, you really have to get your launch down to get that to work for you. All right, so until I see other players, I know that I am still at risk of getting out of that lobby and into a faster lobby. I'm going to go ahead and take one more run, and then we'll jump out and in to see what lobby I ended up in. I might have bumped up slightly in the lobby, probably moved from like 11.5 to 11.3 lobby, but what you want is that 0 RPM drop right there. That'll give you the best run if you run all out. Naturally, against a bot, that's unnecessary, nor would I do it. In fact, I'm going to slow down quite a bit to make sure I run slow before I leave this lobby. So I did a few runs to kind of try to keep my time away from the faster runs. Remember, averages do not drop instantly. If you do a 10.2 followed by a 10.7, that doesn't necessarily average you down to 10.6s that easily, right? So if you did two 10.2s and then you have to lower it back to 10.4, the laws of averages will make it more and more complicated for you to do that. You have to do quite a bit of slow runs to get there. Now, so what is my dyno? Well, I did not run under my dyno yet. That's a 10.233. I could tune it to be a little bit faster. There is a margin there, so I can tune it to a little bit faster still without giving up a whole lot, but I choose not to, mainly because 10.233 is not a bad spot to be. Now, if I can get it to, say, 10.3, I should bump down a lobby, but then again, do I really want to push it down that far? That's going to be the question. So I think there's no need. I can do a 10.1 dyno as well. This car, again, is pretty flexible when it comes to that. A 10.18 or 19 dyno should be no different lobby than the 10.233 lobby. So I'm going to put it into the 10.18 range. We're going to go look at how and why those two stage 6s are so important. So I pulled stage 6s, but the only ones I needed to even install or care to install up to this point is these two. I upgraded these two, spent some gold to bump it faster, and then put the stage 6s on. If you can look at transmission, if you take the stage 6 out, watch the number change. It goes up, and that goes way down. Okay, so this is where this car is what I call stage 6 dependent. It really needs the stage 6. The same effect from taking out body. You lose almost 300 evo without a performance point change. So these two really takes the car from just okay to really decent. But it doesn't take your car to epic levels. I mean, it's just not as good as some of the other cars. And that, for some reason, always happens to Ferraris. They just don't end up as good as some other brands that I've dealt with. So the Aston Martin Gold Star, the Aston Martin prize car, which is a purple star, I believe, that car is still, in the end, in some ways easier to set up and almost better at live racing than this car, but they're about on par. They're not, one does not necessarily trump the other. Right, so I did move up to a slightly faster lobby. I've been to this lobby before, and this guy moved up with me. So we mutually bumped each other into a little bit quicker lobby. Are you going to be able to move it back down to a slower lobby? Sure. You know, if you race slow, you will move back down. But again, this is something I just noticed with the live matchmaking. Even if you run and lose, before if I lost, it would be no issue. I can lose, I won't bump. It's almost like I didn't do anything wrong. But now, if you run under, even if you lose, it seems to still bump you. That's not a good sign. It's not something we want. Certainly, this is a faster lobby. I can tell just by the number of gears I had to use. I had to run a 10.4 to beat them, and usually I shouldn't have to. In the other lobby, I can run 10.5, 10.6. So I bumped up one lobby with that one run in the 10.2s. So even if you have a nice car now you have to, again, rethink your strategy with maintaining lobby advantage. It seems that Natural Motion tightened up the lobbies as far as where it would bump you yet again. So what is my final verdict on this car now that I've crashed? I might as well finish talking and close out the video. The car is decent, but it's not going to be awesome. And for all the efforts you put in to get it, it's only mediocre in my opinion. It's sad that I can't find a Ferrari I can use in live racing consistently and safely, but that's unfortunately the way the developers made these cars. Is it worth all the effort? Well, the good news is that the 70 races wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, but then I'm working off of quite a few, basically fully maxed cars for the first 2 or 3, and then the second 2 were decently built, and it was no issue for me. But getting to race 70 to get this Ferrari, while it's not super hard, isn't easy either. And afterwards, again, we're frozen here, so it's because I crashed, but this Ferrari is only decent at live, not super. So that's my review of this car and its live racing capabilities. Feel free to ask questions. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like my channel and would like to get notified when I put up these videos, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get notifications. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.